Joining us now with the very latest is Donald Trump's attorney, friend of the program, longtime friend of the program, Joe Tacopina is with us. The president, and I actually agree with him, now you've tried over 100 cases in New York. The president's believing, and I'm believing, when you have Democrats outnumbering Republicans in New York City 9-1, he's saying he doesn't think he can get a fair trial. You've tried 100 cases in New York. Do you believe he can, or would it be better to get a change of venue?
Look, it would be better to get a change of venue and a lot of things that we'll be moving for in our legal papers, Sean, for just the sake of fundamental fairness. That being said, you know, while I understand the political geographics of New York City and New York County, New York jurors are smart and they're gritty. And even if they don't, and I will be sure to remind them, this is not a political election. This is the rule of law being applied across this country. And today it's Donald Trump. Tomorrow it could be a Democrat. The day after it could be your brother or your sister. And we have to be careful about saying, oh, he's unpopular. I don't like him. I don't like the way he acts. I'm a very left-wing individual, so I'm never going to vote to acquit Donald Trump. These jurors have to go home and look themselves in the mirror. This is not a game. It's not a civil case. It is not an election. This is the rule of law being applied. And when we start deciding who we want to target and then try to find a crime for, the rule of law falls. And in my opinion, yesterday, the rule of law in the United States of America really fell. And it's something that I've never thought I would see in my life. You know, Sean, your dialogue and monologue was amazing. Some things we might actually use in some of our papers. But, you know, Jonathan Turley's piece, initially when I read the headline, I smirked. It was funny.
By the way, it was a great column
with a gun in New York. Except it was a great column and a great headline, except it's not really funny because it's true. That's what's happening in New York. New York, our great city, is not the safest place in the world anymore. It's a dangerous place. And that's because people are being let off with slaps on the wrist for violent crimes. But they put the force of their entire office into this case. 3 years they've investigated. And this is what they come up with, a non-crime that they're trying to criminalize on a federal statute that they clearly don't understand. The FEC has come back and said there is no offense here. There's no violation, not even close, Sean, of campaign finance laws. And one day they're going to have to answer for this charging decision.
All right, let me ask you this. And there are a number of legal grounds. You're going to make a motion, I think, for a change of venue, other motions to dismiss. I would, walk us through the three that I've been focusing on. You would argue that it's based upon what I would call faulty legal theory, that Bragg is arguing that, a mere when you misrepresent something on a government document, in other words, recording a payment of money as a legal expense, which, by the way, as I mentioned, Hillary Clinton did herself, is by itself criminal, and that it becomes a felony simply because the purpose may have been to violate a federal, not a state campaign statute. That's never happened before. I'm sure you're going to argue that the charges are barred by the statute of limitations. And I think you will also argue and seek a dismissal based upon the argument of prosecutorial misconduct and selective prosecution, because this guy ran on going after one man, one company, and one family.
And I'm going to ask them to show me another case where this has ever been done, because it's never been done. And by the way, Sean, you said something that actually was not accurate factually, and it's actually something that's really important in this case. You said filing a government document. That's the point. Nothing was filed here. Had Donald Trump tried to assert a tax deduction here or take a tax deduction for
by
this,
the way, you are right. You are right in your correction. I agree with you. I misstated that.
But it's important, right? Think about this.
Yeah, very important.
So there was a document that they're saying were false business records. They're his own personal records. First of all, they weren't false. They were, in fact, legal fees, and that's how they were billed. But putting that aside, assuming they were false, assuming they said, purchase of 10 gallons of ice cream, right? Because Joe Biden likes ice cream, I think. So assuming they said that, it's still not a false business record as a crime because there's no filing obligation, Sean. There was no tax deduction asserted, so they didn't go to the IRS and seek a tax deduction. That would have been problematic. Conversely, they didn't file this with the FEC because they didn't have to. This was not a campaign exclusive campaign expenditure. This was something that would have been made irrespective of the campaign. So there was no filing made. So where is it a false business record? In his own records, in his own personal files? That's the key point here. And had he used campaign funds, Sean, had to use campaign funds, because now they're saying, now this was something that should have fallen under the FEC, and this was a campaign finance violation. Well, had he used campaign funds, they would be baying for his scalp tonight. They would be baying for his scalp, saying he improperly used campaign funds on a personal expenditure. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't if you're Donald Trump here, which is why this prosecution is rotten to the core, it's politically motivated, and it is the weaponization of our criminal system that's in full effect. And now you're starting to see calls for Biden's prosecution, right?
All right.
This is what I said the other night. The pendulum will swing both ways.
Oh, it's going to happen.
And this is where we're going now. So from now on, the justice system will be used by whoever's in office, whether it's a Republican prosecutor or a Democratic prosecutor, to go after political opponents. Terrific. We're now harkening back to the days of communist China, the Soviet Union, Nazi Germany, all the places the United States of America loathed and despised, and our justice system never emulated. Well, here we are.
Okay, so on Tuesday, the president will be arraigned. We expect a mugshot. We expect the president will have his fingerprints. We expect what? Is he going to be perp walked? Is he going to be in handcuffs? Are they going to try and say he can't have bail?
I don't think anything dramatic like that's going to happen, because even if they try to, that would further solidify the notion that he is being so selectively targeted and treated differently than anyone in the world. I mean, you could go smack a police officer in Times Square right now, knock him out, you'll be out on bail. You get bail, no problem. Are they going to ask bail on a misdemeanor-based records case?
They don't have the last name Trump, Joe.
Felony? Of course not.
They don't have the last name Trump.
But here's the thing. We don't really know what's going to happen Tuesday, because logistically this has never happened before. We have the Secret Service involved in an arraignment. When have you seen that before? Never.
And you have not worked out all these details yet as of this point?
They are not worked out yet. We have some ideas, but no, nothing's worked out yet.
All right. Joe Tacopina, thank you. We'll be checking in with you next week. We appreciate your time this Friday night.